jmc6000 here, right outside the JMC garage, and in this week we're going to do a comparison video, sort of. So in this video, and from what you can judge from the title, I'm basically describing if you should go with a 2024 Bronco Sport or you should wait and order the 2025 Bronco Sport. So we're going to go over some of the changes of the Bronco Sport that's happening for 2025 and see if it's worth it for you to either go with the 2024 right now, which are some fantastic deals are happening on those, or should you wait and maybe spend a little bit more, probably towards MSRP, and get a 2025. So let's kind of dive into what are the changes for 2024. Now I know Ford has added a whole new trim package for the Bronco Sport called the Sasquatch, which can be added to the Badlands and I believe the Outer Banks. I have to double check on that. But let's go over some of the basic changes on what you're gaining by if you wanted to wait for the 2025. So number one, let's go over exterior changes. Number one, Ford has changed up the grille on the 2025 Bronco Sport. So same headlights, same hood, same fenders, but the grille has been changed. It went to more of a wavy kind of honeycomb style versus this kind of three notches. In fact, some of these are fake. And then you got the three notches down here. The bumper's been changed also on the 2025. It's more of a bolder, kind of a more of a outward appearance bumper. It has some little indents up here. But other than that, on the front end, that's it. That's all they changed. Again, same headlights. Wheels have been changed for 2025. They're 17s, just like on these, on the 2024 Big Ben. But the wheel designs have changed for 2025. A lot of the side is exactly the same. And on the back, the tail lights, the lift gate, the lift glass, the lift gate, the tail lights are all exactly the same going into 2025. The only difference is the bumper in the rear has been touched and tweaked just a little bit. Again, the differences are very hard to notice unless you put them side by side and kind of look at the two. But there's bigger changes for 2025 inside and underneath the hood. But let's go underneath the hood first, and let me maybe describe why you might want to wait for a 2025 model. So as we look underneath the hood of this 2024, this again is the entry-level Big Ben series. A lot of the the trim levels haven't changed except for the addition of a Sasquatch package. But the Big Ben comes standard with the 1.5 Dragon inline 3-cylinder. It's direct and port injected. As you can see here, it looks like an absolute mess with wires and hoses all over the place. But in 2025, Ford made two powertrain changes. Nobody's publishing this, but they actually made two powertrain changes for 2025 on the Bronco Sport. So they're doing away with the 1.5 Dragon, totally doing away with this engine, and it's being replaced by the 1.5 MPC EcoBoost, around the same horsepower, around the same torque, but the 1.5 MPC EcoBoost is actually a smoother inline 3 than this 1.5 Dragon. One of the things I noticed about this engine that I don't notice in the 1.5 EcoBoost is how jittery and how very unsettling, especially at idle, this engine is, especially with the air conditioner on. You can feel the vibrations through the steering wheel, through the seat. I'm not the biggest fan of this inline 3, and the 1.5 MPC, not only is it a smoother engine as much as a 3-cylinder can, but it's actually a smoother when it interacts with the transmission, which transmissions are all the same, all 8-speed automatics. And also what Ford did is they actually went over to the 2-liter MPC EcoBoost. So they got rid of the old 2-liter EcoBoost and they went with the 2-liter MPC EcoBoost. But on the downside, Ford is introducing in some markets gasoline particulate filters. And unfortunately, horsepower had to be downgraded to the markets that are offering the gasoline particulate filter to 238 versus the 250. So that's the only downside. Now, not all markets are getting the gasoline particulate filter, but Ford decided to make it blanket across the board that every single one of the 2-liter MPC found in the Maverick and found in the Bronco Sport is going to be at the 238 rating, which is about 12 horsepower less than the 2024 and below models. So, something to consider. Again, on the new 2025 Bronco Sport, you can only get the 2-liter on, I believe, the Outer Banks, or no, not on the Outer Banks, on the Badlands model. So, all right, let's hop inside and let's look at other changes. All right, so hopping inside here in the Bronco Sport. This is a 2024, brand new. Got this on loan from Ford. But I want to talk about in this video is some of the changes on the inside, and also put the air conditioner on because it's a little warm outside for me. And again, right now it's at idle. It's already warmed up, and I can feel the vibrations from this stupid 3-cylinder. Oh,
I can too.
Just
in this
irks
seat.
me. Anyway, you don't feel that in the new 1.5 MPC, only in this Dragon engine. But anyway, so pretty much what you need to know about the inside, and you can go see pictures and whatnot, but from here on over to here, so the infotainment, the gauge cluster, everything down here is all been changed. So 2025, they went to a digital gauge cluster, a standard across the board, whether you get this Big Ben all the way up to if you get the Sasquatch package or the Outer Banks or whatever the case may be. Everybody gets a fully digital 12.3 inch, I believe it might be, fully digital gauge cluster, and every single vehicle is going to get a fully digital, I believe that's a 12.3 inch, the infotainment, the Sync 4 system. So that's standard across the board. They're doing away with Sync 3, they're doing away with the 8-inch screen, and every single model is going to get standard digital gauge cluster and the standard Sync 4 system. Now, there's some downsides to that some people may not like, but gone are the physical climate controls. They're all going to be embedded into the screen. No longer we have the ability to move the air, the fan speed, or the temperature by these knobs. It's all going to be in the screen via the Sync 4 system. And a lot of these, there will be a few buttons, but it's not going to be like what you see right now. And gone is this shelf. But what Ford did is behind the screen, they added a little compartment behind the screen. You don't see it in this, but it's in the new one. And then also pretty much the dash layout and design, like this vent and this vent are staying the same. They're going to imprint Bronco here on the airbag cover, but these vents are getting changed totally to right down here to make room for the bigger screen. Steering wheel staying the same. The center console staying the same. The door panels are staying the same, except they're adding stitching along the edge where you put your elbow to rest. So that is changing as well. But so those are the changes. Also, what I noticed for 2025, the Bronco Sport is actually gaining standard adaptive cruise control and standard lane centering. Whether you get the Big Ben or you go all the way up to the Outer Banks, every single one's going to get a standard adaptive cruise and standard lane centering, which is awesome. Now, Blue Cruise is not going to be offered even on the 2025 Bronco Sport. Neither is it offered on the Maverick, but that's the changes they're bringing. Also, for all the changes that they're doing to the 2025 Bronco Sport, the price is only going up $500. I looked at the price between this Big Ben versus the 2024 versus the 2025, and it's only going up $500. So you're getting a lot of value, and some people may want to think it's actually worth it to actually go and order a 2025 model and actually bypass the 24 altogether. And so my recommendation, if it was for me, unless you're getting a really, really good discount, a really good finance offering, or whatever the case may be, on a 2024, personally, I would skip the 2024 altogether, especially when it comes to the lower end models. This screen, Sync 3, I mean, I dealt with Sync 3, it's okay, but I mean, the small screen kind of sucks. I don't like how they don't have a digital readout for the temperature anymore. So even when Android Auto's up, I have to, every time I look at the temperature, it comes up on the screen. Even when I have my maps up, it's absolutely annoying. Again, that's all changed with the 2025 model. And this small screen in the gauge cluster, that's just, I mean, it gives kind of good, decent information, but it's nothing like what the digital gauge cluster is going to bring in the next model. So that's my recommendation. For me, I would recommend going for the 2025, skipping the 2024 altogether, unless you want some physical controls, unless you don't mind Sync 3 and the smaller screen and everything else, unless you don't mind any of that. But for me personally, I would totally wait and actually order the 2025. But that's up to you. If you can get a screaming deal on these, and I visited the dealership today where I got my Explorer, and they had a plethora. I mean, I think over 30 Bronco Sports in stock. And what is happening is the assembly plant down in Mexico is basically clearing out their inventory, clearing out their stock of all the Bronco Sports, and just flooding the dealers with all these 2024 models just to get rid of them to make room for the new 2025. So I'm going to tell you right now, my dealer's on an outsider. I bet you if you visit dealers right now, there's a ton of 2024s in stock, and I bet you they're going to start making deals on them. If you want a deal, now is the time. But if you want to wait for the better screens, for the digital gauge cluster, for standard adaptive cruise, this is crazy that in 2024, you couldn't even get standard adaptive cruise even in the Outer Banks model. Even in the other models, upwards of 40 grand, you still had to add a option package in order to get adaptive cruise. So for me personally, I would recommend waiting for the 2025. But again, if you can get a screaming deal on the 24, now is the time. So I'm going to leave that to you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe you're in the market for a Bronco Sport. Maybe you're looking for a Bronco Sport. I would say skip getting a used one. And if you want a 2024 or older, now is the time. Dealers are sitting on a boatload of them. They're making financing deals and they're offering cash money on the hoods. Take advantage of it. Or you can order a 2025 model and take advantage of some of the changes that Ford has done. Awesome. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification. If you guys have any questions, comments, please drop it in the comment section. If you want to know more about this Bronco Sport, again, I have it for a couple more days. I'd love to tell you more about it, but this is the 2024 model. 2025s, I believe, are going into production next month, and this should be hitting dealerships probably by January or February, first quarter of 2025. Awesome. You guys be blessed. Have a wonderful day, and we will catch you on the next one.